About a year ago, Eversolo introduced the T8 streaming transport. Now they introduced the more upmarket T10. It has an oven-controlled clock oscillator, a second 25 MHz oscillator, refined power supply, extensive electrical isolation, room correction and further improved user interface. As always, you can skip chapters by clicking in the timeline. The T10, being a network player, needs a connection via your modem/router to the internet. This connection can be made over Ethernet cable, Wi-Fi or Fibre network. This way it can play music from internet radio stations and streaming services like Tidal, Qobuz, Spotify and many others supported by the T10. If you have music stored on your computer or NAS, that can be played too. The T10 needs a digital to analog converter, DAC for short, that can be connected over one of its 5 digital outputs. More on that later. The DAC needs to be connected to line inputs on your amplifier over a pair of RCA or XLR interconnects. The amps need to be connected to a pair of loudspeakers over loudspeaker cables. The T10 can be controlled with the supplied remote control or using a smartphone or tablet running the Eversolo app, or it can be used from the front. A USB drive holding music or update files can be connected, as can a digital source over USB like an optical USB drive for playing and ripping music. It is also possible to add up to 2 M.2 memory cards for music storage. On which later on more. Since the T10 has a digital volume control integrated, you can use a power amplifier instead of an integrated amplifier. The T10 has a black anodized aluminium housing with an acrylic front covering the display. It measures 365 by 310 by 88 mm and weighs 6.5 kilograms. Outside of the touch-sensitive display there are 7 touch-sensitive surfaces. On the right for standby, display selection, home screen and return to previous screen. On the left side we find the skip back, play pause and skip forward. The 8.6 color touchscreen shows cover art along the top 7 selectable screens and below it the icons of the chosen screen. Music services in this choice. Icons can be a function or an app. On the back we see the IEC mains inlet and the power button. The power button is only used when the T10 is not used for a longer period. Normally the standby function is used. It can be activated from the front or the remote control. Next we see the 2.5 GHz Ethernet port, 2 USB 3s for media and updates, an SFP cage for using glass fiber network connections, a special USB that is isolated and designated for connecting a USB DAC to, an AES EBU output, an optical Toslink output, a coaxial SPDIF output and an I2S output on HDMI. The pinout can be changed in the setting menu. Mode 1 is the most common pinout. It is used by Eversolo, PS Audio, Denafrips, Holo Audio and many others. There are 2 clock inputs, 75 ohm and 50 ohm. At high-end Vienna 2026, Eversolo announced their master clock unit, the C10, for delivery later this year. In the bottom of the T10 is a small hatch that gives access to 2 M.2 slots, each capable of holding a M.2 memory module with a capacity of 8 terabytes. This is what the T10 looks like inside. Let's compare it to the T8. First we see the mains filtering and automatic voltage switching. It senses whether the incoming voltage is 110 or 230 volts. The toroidal transformers look about the same, but I think the T8 has a normal toroidal transformer while the T10 has an O-type core. The power supply looks about the same with the exception of the rows of capacitors here. 3 rows in the T8 and 5 in the T10. The heart of the T10 is this module, which I expect to be identical in both. It is also used in other Eversolo streaming products. Some of them have a DAC integrated, some a DAC and amplifiers. But the streaming engine is the same, at least for as far as I can see. Back to the T8 and T10. Where the T8 has 2 acute silicon clock crystals, the T10 has an oven controlled crystal oscillator with PLL module. I also found a 24 MHz oscillator, of which the function is unclear to me. It might have to do with the external clock function, see here. Other differences between the T8 and T10 are also clearly visible, like the metal shielding between the mains input circuits, the power supply and the digital electronics. Also there are a USB hub and a USB PCIe chip and transformers for galvanic separation on output. Like on the T8, there is an SFP port for using a fiber network connection. The obvious benefit of fiber optics is galvanic isolation, which can give sound quality improvements. But to become an optical signal, the electrical signal has to be converted. This is done in a so-called SFP module, for small form factor pluggable. That is plugged into an SFP cage in a switch and in the T10. Then 1 or 2 fiber cables are plugged in, depending on what you have chosen. If you use a bidirectional SFP, you only use 1 fiber. It sends and receives at different wavelengths. If you chose a duplex SFP, you use 2 fibers, 1 for sending and 1 for receiving. This means that you have to cross the fibers. If one fiber is plugged in left, on the other side it needs to be plugged in on the right, and vice versa. Although designed for connections between switches, it can just as easily be used for audio if the audio device and your switch have an SFP cage integrated. Just insert identical SFP modules in both cages and connect them with the appropriate fiber. The fiber needs to be optimized for the frequency or frequencies the SFPs work on. If your switch has no SFP cage, you could buy a so-called media converter that accepts Ethernet and bidirectionally connects it to the SFP module. Both media converters and SFP module might influence the sound quality. My experiences with cheap media converters are not great when used for audio. Not even with a better power supply to replace the one it comes with. When I tested the Sonore Optical Rendu Deluxe, I was rather surprised by the sound quality difference between this €25 media converter and a €599 Sonore optical module that has the same function. According to Sonore, the SFP module is also critical. I bought a pair of these Finisare modules back then, plus 15 meters of fiber with these specifications. If you only need a short fiber cable, you probably save a tenner. You can download the free app from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. I used an iPad Pro 2. After starting up the app, my DMP A6 ME with B-Technique power supply pops up. The T10 is easily added by tapping the plus and then selecting the T series, selecting the T10, click next and confirm. Back in the My Devices screen you tap the T10. As you can see on the left, the options are numerous, but let me show you the screen mirroring. Let's extend the screen and now go to Home. Like on the front of the T10, you see the music services like Tidal, and Cobus. And then there are 2 screens more. The only obvious service missing is Rune. That was added through an update after this video of the app was made. The T10 was connected to the Matrix Audio SI1 Ethernet filter over a Network Acoustics Muon network cable to the Zixel GS1900-10HP switch. Also connected to the Zixel switch was the Zixel T56 modem/router, which was connected to the 1 gigabit Odido glass fiber internet connection via a Nokia media converter. The small green computer sonic transporter i7 CDR was connected to the Zixel switch via a patch cable and is running Rune server, Minim server and Ordevana core server. The Mytek Brooklyn Bridge 2 was connected to the T10 via a short Network Acoustics BNC cable with 75 ohm BNC to RCA adapters. The Brooklyn Bridge 2 is a DAC equal to earlier Mytek DACs with linear power supplies. But since it's also a Rune endpoint and a Rune server, but I don't use that here, I can compare the T10 with the internal streamer of the Mytek. Between the Mytek and the Air Acoustics AX520 amplifier, a pair of Grim Audio SQM XLR cables provided the analog connection. The PMC FACT12 signature speakers on Stack Audio over 100 isolators were connected via AudioQuest Robinhood Zero speaker cable. The iPad Pro 2 was used to control the music server software on the Sonic Transporter. I then replaced the Ethernet connection with the Fibre connection using the SFP modules and Fibre described earlier. First, using the galvanic network connection. The difference between the Mytek internal streamer and the T10, both played through the DAC in the Brooklyn Bridge, was very small. The sibilance control was slightly better using the Mytek streamer, probably the advantage of having no SPDIF interfacing. For the rest, there is no clear sign of jitter or polluted digital feeds. Using the Fibre connection directly from the Zixel switch sounded even slightly better. Overall, I judge the T10 at the middle level of my reference setup 1B. As with all Eversolo streamers, the possibilities are enormous. That's great unless you suffer from computer anxiety. The app works great, almost all streaming services and protocols are supported. I waited publishing this review since there was at least one irritating bug that cut the connection to the network. Now with version v1.1.70 all works just fine and Rune certification is added. The digital feed seems to be of excellent quality, especially taking the retail price of €2,190 into account. And on that bombshell we come to the end of this video. It's summertime, so I will not publish a video every week. But if you subscribe or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok, you will be notified when a new video is published. As always, Patreon and YouTube Premium members get early access and no ads. A huge thank you to those that support the channel financially. I appreciate every single euro, pound or dollar or equivalent you donate. You keep me independent and motivated. It's easy to contribute using the QR code on screen or the links in the description. I'm Hans Beekhuizen, thank you for watching, and whatever you do, enjoy the music.